My neighbors listen to some great music at night, whether they like it or not. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Danator channel. In today's episode, we're going to pick up right where Thrillbilly left off in episode 2, where he's trying to get his 85 Corvette, Project Poorvette, running right. He was able to diagnose a problem with the sending unit, and so he replaced that, a fuel filter, and some odds and ends, and the car still had a problem with idling, poor acceleration, and whatnot. So in this video, we're going to see if Thrillbilly can get this car idling and running right. Enjoy the video. All right, just the morning after the second test drive, got to thinking about it last night that my reason, I think, for the car wanting to stall on me, I only had about a gallon of gas left in the tank. I got some more gas, put it in there. I've got a little under 4 gallons in it now. So I'm gonna take it out for another test ride and see if that helps us out. I'm gonna go ahead and replace the fuel pump relay. I'm gonna mess with the intake tube. There's some cracks in it. I'm gonna try to seal up. Maybe that can help get the system more closed than what it is. So I probably have a vacuum leak somewhere also, and I'll try to figure that out hopefully at some point and see if that does any bit of good. Okay, so I'm on the driver's side portion of the firewall. This is my fuel pump relay. It's just resting in there. It's supposed to be bolted down to these two nuts here. All of these wires are exposed. That's probably not a good thing. All right, so I took the connector apart and taped up the exposed wires. I'm gonna see if this makes any bit of difference to the start and idle of this car. But before I do that, I'm gonna take this tube off. Here, there's some cracks underneath it. I'm gonna see if there's anything I could do to kind of seal that back up again. I don't know if that's causing any problems or not. It's a mass airflow sensor. Walk this thing off. You'll see, got some big old holes in it. I'm sure that's not helping the situation, so. Got a little stick lighter here. I'm gonna try to melt the plastic with this flame here and try to glue it back together, kind of plastic weld it back to itself. It's already shot. I don't really want to put tape on it because it's dirty. I tried cleaning it with my kid's toothbrush. She doesn't use it anyway, so. And if I ruin it, it's already ruined. Smells good.
How does burning plastic smell good?
Trick is not to burn my own hand.
That would help a lot.
It's working, so we'll keep at it. I don't know how good of a bond it'll make, but so far it looks like it's holding. I don't know how wet it'll do once I stretch it to get it back on the thing, but plastic welding. Hoping that maybe I can just take this zip tie and just get it to cooperate here. Pretty booger welded, but I'll tell you what, it's holding. It actually worked. How well it worked is to be determined. All right, we're in the vet. Took the top out with the fuel pump, fuel filter, and the fuel pump relay. Car is finally idling and running on its own. So thought I'd take it for a ride. last time I took it out for a test drive with my father-in-law, the car still isn't running that great. So some days when I start the car, it'll idle. Some days when I go start the car, it wants to die. So I have to keep my foot on the gas pedal just to keep it running. And then anytime I kind of slow down while I'm driving it, it wants to die. So I think what I'm going to try to do today is replace the fuel pressure regulator. In order to get to the fuel pressure regulator on the 85 TPI, I have to take the plenum apart. Kind of have to break the seals on the gaskets and stuff. So I ordered a complete gasket kit for the intake plenum. In order to get the fuel pressure regulator off, you have to have one of these kind of like safety Torx bits that have little holes in the middle of the thing. So got some mass airflow cleaner. Probably wouldn't hurt to get that cleaned up. The car has a K&N air filter on it, but it is dry as a bone. So I ordered a recharge kit. Let's get to it. All right, so the fuel pressure regulator, this black top hat looking thing right here, you see these silver screws on there. It's got a vacuum line coming off of it as well. So I gotta get this cap off. You take the upper runner bolts out, and there's a vacuum hard line back there somewhere. Take all these bolts out. Don't necessarily have to take off your throttle body, but take off the linkage and stuff, give yourself some room, and then just kind of pry up the back of the plenum, and you should have plenty of room to do that. I gotta get the throttle linkage off. Already disconnected my negative battery cable. So looking inside the intake, it looks really clean. I'm going to clean up this gasket material and get the new gaskets ready. There's a bunch of vacuum lines that are running underneath here. I'm going to inspect all these, make sure there are no cracks or anything in that. Yeah, I don't know if this is bad or not, but it's definitely a little crusty. I'm leaking a lot of fuel right now, so I'm going to try to address this real quick. It's pretty grody on the contact here, on the surface here, so I wonder if that isn't kind of adding to some of my problem. I'm going to get some Scotch-Brite or something, kind of try to clean that up a little bit. Right, so here's the old fuel pressure regulator compared to the new one. So I cleaned up the plate here. Used some gasoline, some brake clean and stuff, just try to get that gunk off of it. Got as much of it off as I could without really digging in too deep to the metal there with a brass brush. So I'm gonna work on putting this back together, get it dry and putting it back together again. So there's three pieces of this. There's the diaphragm, the hat, and the retaining clip. I'm trying to spin this around to where I can see all the holes lining up, and they do. And I want to put this on here to where the nozzle's pointing upward. I'm gonna go ahead and install some of these screws just to kind of get started here. I got one to go. Just checking to make sure all my holes still line up. Don't want to damage the diaphragm. them all started. It's got a spring in it, so it's going to get some resistance to torquing these down. All right, just try to do a crisscross pattern. Okay, looks like they're all the way down now. I'm just going to go back through and kind of snug them up a little bit. I don't want to over tighten them. They weren't very tight to begin with. But I also don't want a fuel leak, which causes more problems than good. So, all right, with the new fuel pressure regulator diaphragm installed and the hat put back on, I'm going to work on these gaskets. The gaskets look like they're in good shape, but since I have it all apart, I'm just going to go ahead and replace them. So I'm going to clean off all the contact surfaces, get all these old gaskets off, and then I'll install the new ones. All right, well, really had a struggle getting this upper plenum put back in. I could get one bolt in on this side, but I couldn't get the holes to line up on the other. And actually, my neighbor across the street come over and helped me out and got it all lined back up. Just got the throttle body put back on. I'm at a point now where I'm gonna start reinstalling my throttle cables. Gotta tighten down this hard line right there, that nut to get that vacuum for my brake booster. I'm getting really close to being able to put this thing back together. I've got my vacuum lines hooked back up on the opposite side of the intake there. Just got a little bit more button up to do, and then we'll try to get this baby fired up. All right, so get the air filter out of the 85 Corvette is just as simple as removing these long bolts here. This thing is bone dry, so it definitely needs some oil on it. Also, this is the lid for the air filter. There's a mod you can do to these where you can just, if you have a plastic one, you can just drill a bunch of holes in it and make more provisions for air to flow through. For these, they say just cut these little fins off and just leave these openings more wide open, let more air flow. So first things first is you basically want to kind of pound these things out, get all the large debris out. So what we need to do to start is apply the air filter cleaner, spray it on liberally, both the front and the back, and let it set for 10 minutes. Then you just take a garden hose without the spray nozzle on it and just let the flowing water just kind of blow over it. You don't want to spray it with high intensity pressure. Just want to rinse off the dirt. Okay, supposed to let that set for 10 minutes. I'm going to take my hose, and they want you to rinse it from the back side going out, because all the large pieces would get stuck on this end, so you're going to spray that direction. I'm going to go ahead and oil this side first. Then it says to let it sit for about 20 minutes, and then touch up the areas on either side and see if it leaches through to the other side, or if I have to do this side as well. The instructions didn't say that to apply it both sides specifically, but I imagine I'm going to have to. Once you get it applied, let it sit for about 20 minutes. All right, so it's been 20 minutes. Looks like I got a couple spots that I need to hit with some oil. Alright, got the fuel pressure regulator replaced. I've got the gaskets replaced on the throttle body and the upper plenum. I cleaned the mass airflow sensor, put it all back together, started the car up. It's idling. I'm able to put it into gear and it doesn't want to die. I just took it for a little bit of a spin and I finally am able to put the gas pedal down and get some response out of it without it wanting to bog down a little bit. So I think the fuel pressure regulator was the problem. I'm going to give it a little bit more of a shakedown here. Here's where it would want to die, and it's still running. Still has a little bit of a hesitation in it. That was a little more responsive than before. It was wanting to snap and pop and backfire, but now it's still running. It's a lot better than what it was when I first put it on the trailer to bring it home. It's doing a lot better. Just came back from the shakedown run, went up to the gas station, got some gas. Praise the Lord, the car is running. I'm able to put it in gear, I'm able to drive and accelerate, and it's got power. It's not wanting to bog, it's not wanting to backfire or drop RPM and stall. So looks like it was a fuel pressure regulator. It definitely was the fuel pump because the fuel pump was losing the fuel back to the tank and dropping on my fuel pressure. So between the new sending unit, new fuel filter, and the fuel pressure regulator, it's running. So praise the Lord. Lots of other things to do on this car. Stay tuned, there'll be a lot more coming. Next thing to do is get some new tires for it. Like a boss,